Okay guys, so today's algebra lesson is over solving different kinds of equations. Okay, today we're going to specifically work on solving one-step equations and two-step equations. Okay, so if you remember, basically what equation is you're going to have some kind of a variable in this equation, and you're going to have two different things on an equal sign. Okay, so for example, this example 1 says 5x equals 21. So we have these two expressions and the equal sign in between them, so we have an equation. We want to figure out what x is. That's the point here. So we're trying to solve for the different variables. A variable is just a letter that is unknown. So here it says 5x equals 20. What we need to remember from what you should have learned before is when you have something written like 5x, that's like saying 5 times x, okay? And if we're trying to get x alone, we're trying to solve for x here, you have to undo the operation that is happening. So if this is 5 times x, the opposite of times is divide. So what you want to do here to solve for x is you want to divide both sides by 5. The reason it's both sides is because whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, so we're dividing both sides by 5. When we do that, the two 5s become 1. So they basically cancel. So now what you're left with here is just an x equals whatever 20 divided by 5 is, which is 4. So your answer is x equals 4. So that is what it means when we say solve a one-step equation. There's literally just one step. And in this situation, you just divided both sides by 5. Remember, it's whatever you do on one side of the equal sign, you have to do on the other. So let's look at another example. So here we have x minus 3 equals 21. And again, our goal is to get x here alone. So to get x alone, we need to get rid of this negative 3. So basically, we want to take it to the other side. Well, this is a minus 3, so you want to add 3 to both sides. Minus 3 and a plus 3 becomes 0. So what you're left with is x equals 21 plus 3, which is 24. Okay. This should look very familiar because you definitely should have done this before in your past 8th grade pre-algebra class. Okay. So now let's look at example 3. For example 3, we have y divided by 2. So when we have something like y over 2, if it looks like a fraction, remember that just means divide. So we have y over 2 equals 3. Well, for dividing by 2, we need to multiply both sides by 2. So the multiplying and the dividing cancel each other out. So what you're left with now is just a y equals 3 times 2, which is 6. So that's your answer for number 3. For number 4, this example, we have a negative 4 over 3. So negative 4 thirds. We've got a fraction here. Don't let that make you confused. It's okay. So we've got a negative 4 thirds z equals negative 16. All right, so there's a couple ways you could do this. You could just put straight in your calculator negative 16 divided by negative 4 thirds because you know that these are being multiplied. Or if you remember, to get rid of a fraction, you can multiply by the reciprocal, which is when you just flip it. So what we can do here is multiply by negative 3 over 4. Multiply by negative 3 over 4. Okay, and what you end up with is these cancel. So you just have a z equals, and then negative 16 times negative 3 over 4 ends up being a positive 12. Negative times a negative is positive. Okay? So that is what I mean when I'm saying solving one-step equations. So now that we looked at one-step equations, let's do some two-step equations. So we're going to solve the following two-step equations. We're doing the same thing. We're trying to get the variable isolated. We're trying to get it by itself. But now we're going to be adding a couple of extra steps. So let's start with example 5 here. Now, the first thing that you want to get rid of is whatever is not attached to your variable. So here, this plus 7 isn't attached to our variable. So you want to start by taking this plus 7 and taking it to the other side. To do that, you need to subtract 7 from both sides. So here's our first step. So we still have a 2 over 3x. So 2/3 x. We still have that. These have canceled. And it now equals 10 minus 7 is 3. Okay? What we want to do next is take this 2/3 x equals 3 and try to get x alone. So to do that, I'm going to multiply by 3 over 2 and multiply by 3 over 2. And what you end up with when you do that is now these have canceled. Okay, so you're left with the x equals 3 times 3 over 2 is 9 over 2, or you could say 4.5. Now, if you look at number 6 is x plus 7 over 3 equals 3. If you notice, over here, we got rid of the plus 7 first. So the first thing we did over here is we did plus 7 to both sides. In this situation, we don't want to do that because you have this 3, this divided by 3 over the entire thing. Over here, you just have the divided by 3 with the x. It's 2/3 x. But over here, it's the whole thing. So you actually want to start by getting rid of that 3. Okay, because it's not specifically attached to x. What's attached to x this time is the 7. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. So then those cancel. So what you're left with is an x plus 7 equals 9. Okay, so you want to multiply by the 3 first here. Then we subtract the 7 from both sides. All right, and once you do that, these become 0. So what you're now left with is x equals 9 minus 7, which is 2. So notice what matters here is this divided by 3 is the whole expression, where over here, the x plus 7's kind of off by, the plus 7's off by itself. All right, last example we're going to look at, and then you're going to do a Canvas check on your own to see how well you've grasped doing 1- and 2-step equations, is you're going to take this 4c plus 5 equals negative 11 and start by getting rid of the plus 5. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides first. So now we have a 4c equals negative 11 minus 5 is a negative 16. And then we want to divide both sides by 4, like so. And then all that's left here is a c equals negative 4. So this should be a pretty good refresher of stuff that you have seen before, hopefully. If not, if you are not in class right now, so you're e-learning, I will see you on Tuesday, and I'll be there to answer any questions over this. And those kids who are in class, obviously I'll be here to answer any questions for you in person. But again, this should be a good review. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye.